Good evening. This is the Sleepy Dreamer, a small quiet place where the universe speaks very softly beside you. For a moment, imagine I am just a calm voice in the dimness of your room. Not a screen, not a page, just a presence somewhere near your pillow. You do not need to respond. You do not need to move. You're allowed to simply listen, the way you might listen to distant rain. Let your body find a shape that feels kind. Let your head rest. Let your mouth loosen a little. Notice your shoulders. You can let them fall away from your ears just a little at first, then a little more. Notice your hands. They do not need to hold anything now. Take a slow breath in, gentle and easy, as if you're breathing in the faintest starlight. Hold it for a soft heartbeat, then let it fall out of you, long and quiet, like a tide slipping back over smooth sand. Around you, the room exists in its own small way. Maybe there is a faint glow from a curtain. Maybe there is a trace of light from a hallway, or the soft green of a tiny diode in the corner. Maybe it is very dark and shapes are barely there. Whatever the light is doing, let it be. You do not need to correct it. You do not need to adjust the world. Tonight, the world can adjust around you. Feel the air around your skin, cool or warm or somewhere in between. It touches your cheeks. It fills the space above your chest. It moves in small invisible currents, even when nothing seems to stir. Somewhere beyond your walls, the larger world is still turning, cars moving or not, voices speaking or quiet, screens glowing in other rooms, or lights already gone. But above all of that, above every roof and window, there is a darker, wider space, a sky that may be hidden by clouds or city light, yet still exists, a sky full of things you cannot see from your bed, but that still shine, still move, still hum their ancient songs. Tonight we will drift up toward that sky, not with effort, not with strain, only with imagination and breath. Take another gentle inhale. Feel your chest rise just a little. Feel the air cool your throat, settle in your lungs. Let it go, slow and smooth, as the idea of the sky grows inside you, like a wide, dark window slowly opening. Above you, in your mind, the ceiling melts away. The roof lifts. The clouds part. You're still lying exactly where you are, safe and motionless, yet your awareness rises like a lantern on a very soft string. The darkness above is not empty. It is sprinkled with small points of light, stars scattered in no hurry, each one so far away that its light has been travelling for years, for centuries, for longer than any single life can hold. You float beneath them, resting on your bed, and see them the way a child might see the first lights of evening. Each one steady and calm, each one a small reminder that the universe exists beyond the tight circle of today. Some stars shine alone. Some cluster together, forming faint smudges, faint streams. If your eyes were sharper than they are, if they could gather more light, you would see something else too. You would see that many of those smudges are not just clusters of stars. They are entire galaxies. A galaxy is a vast island of stars held together by gravity. Billions and sometimes trillions of suns, drifting in a shared slow whirl, clouds of gas and dust where new stars are born, stellar ghosts where stars have faded, invisible halos of dark matter cradling it all. You can picture one now, a spiral seen from above, a bright centre glowing like a soft candle, two main arms curling out from that centre and smaller arms splitting off, like paint spiralling in water. Between the arms, darkness. Within the arms, stars, countless and quiet. Our own home, the Milky Way, is such a spiral, We live inside one of its arms, tucked into a corner of a galaxy that is one among many. If you could look from far away, you would see it turning slowly, like a great luminous pinwheel, shining steadily in a sea of black. Now imagine another spiral, far off in that sea. Not a threat, not an intruder, just another island of stars, moving in its own long path through the deep. It too has its centre, its arms, its scatter of blue young stars and red old ones. For now, in this moment, let them both drift, one here, one there, separated by millions of light years, distances so great that light itself takes ages to cross them. Feel how slow that is. Light, the fastest thing we know, still needing such long times to pass from one galaxy to another. You lie very still while these thoughts drift by, and time in your room feels tiny compared to this. Today's concerns grow smaller. Tomorrow's plans step gently back. When we speak of galaxies colliding, it might sound harsh, sudden, violent. But nothing in this scene moves quickly. Nothing happens in a rush. On cosmic scales, motion is almost always slow, graceful, patient. Picture the two spirals again, placed so far apart that you could fit great emptiness between them, yet bound by a force that reaches across that space. Gravity. The same quiet pull that keeps you on your bed. The same pull that guides the moon around the Earth, and the Earth around the sun. Here, though, gravity operates in grand arcs. It tugs gently at whole galaxies like a long, low note moving through a room. You may not notice it at first, but over time it draws things together. You can feel this idea as a sensation, a subtle, inward pull through your chest, like the feeling of being drawn towards sleep. You're not pushed, you're not forced. You simply feel a direction, a gentle leaning toward rest. Imagine that same kind of leaning applied to galaxies. Over hundreds of millions of years they drift closer, their paths curved slowly by the shared pull between their invisible masses. At first, nothing seems to change. But if you could speed up time, if you could watch eons like seconds, you would see their separation decrease, their shapes shift, their dance begin. For now, though, we are still at the beginning. The night has just opened. You are lying here, breathing quietly. The two spirals are still distant, soft, unhurried. Let the picture become clearer. Like eyes adjusting to starlight, you float above them both, safe and weightless. Below, one galaxy shines with a pale milky glow, the other with a slightly different shade, perhaps a touch more blue, perhaps a touch more gold. Between them stretches the black fabric of intergalactic space, colder than anything you have felt, thinner than any air, almost entirely empty, yet not quite. There are lone stars drifting there, like wanderers. There are thin trails of gas, faint as breath on glass. If you listen in your imagination, you might hear a sound here. Not a literal sound, because space is too thin to carry it, but a metaphorical one. A low, constant hum. The hum of gravity stretching from one galaxy to the other, reaching out with a persistence that never tires. As you breathe, in and out, the hum seems to sync with you. It lengthens on your inhale. It deepens on your exhale. You and the galaxies share the same quiet rhythm for a moment, as though your small body and their enormous forms are both part of one long, slow song. You're not thinking of science now, not as equations or charts. You're simply feeling scale, your soft body in a soft bed. A planet turning somewhere beneath you, a galaxy holding that planet, another galaxy drifting nearby, all nested, all connected, all moving together through a universe that does not hurry. The galaxies are not yet colliding. They are approaching, far more slowly than any motion in your life, yet inevitably. Their mutual pull is like the feeling of two minds slowly finding each other over years, not days. You can imagine their outermost stars noticing first. Not noticing in any conscious way, but through the tug on their paths. Stars at the edges feel just a little extra pull in one direction. Their orbits become slightly stretched. Their paths elongate like circles being gently reshaped into ovals. We will explore all of that later when the dance is underway. For now, section 1 is about the beginning. The first knowing, the first glimmer of contact. Return your attention to your breath. In, out. A small motion here in your chest, echoing the unimaginably slow motion of those spirals far above imagination's ceiling. Notice any leftover edges in your body. Your forehead, perhaps, your throat. Let them soften as you picture the night sky again, vast and quiet, dotted with stars like tiny, patient embers. Each ember belongs to a story. Some are part of our galaxy, some are part of others. Some belong to systems that'll never know about us, never cross our path, yet still burn with steady light. The idea of collision is still gentle here. Not a crash, but a promise that paths will one day intersect. You have had such moments too. Times when two parts of your life were far apart, and you did not yet know they would one day meet. Friendships, choices, memories drifting slowly toward each other, long before you could see the pattern. The universe does this on a greater scale. Galaxies drift. Lines of gravity connect them long before their shapes reveal it. The future collision is written in their motions, but it unfolds in silence, spread across hundreds of millions of years. Let that timescale wash over you like a cool wave. Your day is small, your week, your year, even your lifetime are small. They matter deeply from inside your story, yet they rest lightly against the backdrop of cosmic time. Knowing this does not make your life less. It makes the night bigger. It gives your rest a kind of spaciousness. Right now, you're allowed to step out of the tight frame of schedules and clocks. You can float up into this larger picture, where galaxies drift like slow, luminous leaves on an invisible river. Take one more slow breath. Feel it enter. Feel it leave. Imagine that as you exhale, you're releasing your grip on today. Let it fall away, like a coat slipping from your shoulders onto a quiet chair. Above, the two spirals face one another, though they are still separated by darkness. Their arms are turned outward, like open hands. They do not know yet how they will change each other. They only move where gravity leads, patient, vast, unafraid. In your mind's sky, the last image of this first chapter lingers. Two faint galaxies suspended in a deep, dark sea of stars. Their edges stretching very gently toward one another, like slow-motion silk reaching across space, as if the universe itself were drawing in a long, calm breath and beginning the quiet dance of what happens when galaxies collide. The two faint spirals remain suspended in the dark, their edges gently reaching outward, as though the night itself is inviting them closer. Nothing dramatic stirs, nothing breaks the stillness. The motion is so slow you could miss it entirely if you were not resting so deeply, breathing so quietly, letting the universe unfold at its own unhurried pace. Yet even in this calm, something subtle begins to hum through the vastness. It is not a sound, not even a vibration, but a sense. a soft shift in the balance of everything around these drifting islands of stars. Gravity has started to whisper. You feel it first as a faint pressure in your imagination, like a warm hand resting gently over the back of your own. You're not pulled or pushed, just made aware of emotion older than memory, emotion that has been unfolding since long before human eyes first looked up into the dark. Between the two galaxies, space stretches wide and thin. It looks empty, but in truth, it is filled with the faintest breath of particles, the loneliest of stars, small islands of dust drifting so far apart that each grain of matter might go its entire existence without touching another. Yet gravity reaches across all of it. Picture this gravity as a long, soft thread drawn between the two spirals, not a rope, not a chain, something more like the delicate filament of a spider's silk, so fine you can't see it unless the light catches it just right, so strong it can guide a body far larger than itself. The galaxies do not feel the thread as tugging, they feel it as invitation. Their outer stars begin to drift slightly off course, their paths bending ever so gently toward one another. If you could watch the farthest stars, those living on the quiet edges of each galaxy's disk, you would notice them tracing longer loops now, pulling forward with the faintest curiosity. Your breath mirrors this, a slow inhale, expanding just a little beyond the one before, a slow exhale sinking deeper into the place where your body rests. The stars nearest each edge are like those breaths, small motions that tell of a larger rhythm waking up. You linger above them, drifting quietly in the dark, as though you are a slow-moving satellite wrapped in nothing but calm. From this vantage, the spirals look almost delicate. Their arms unwind in loose, luminous curves, glowing in hues of silver blue and warm amber. Far from their centres, the arms thin into wisps of starlight. These wisps sway gently now, stirred by the tide of gravity stretching from one galaxy to the other. Imagine dipping your hand into a still lake and watching the surface shift, not abruptly, not violently, but with a soft ripple spreading outward. That is how gravity touches a galaxy, an almost invisible tremble, a change in the quiet. Your inhale feels like that ripple, your exhale like its slow fade. The galaxies respond to one another in ways too slow for even stars to notice. But you are outside of time here, floating in a space where millions of years pass with the softness of a single breath. You can see the shifting clearly. You can feel the long stretch, this subtle inclination, the slight turning of one luminous island toward the other, and inside each galaxy, in the dim glow of its centre, billions of stars revolve in orbits so regular they have become like a cosmic heartbeat. These inner stars continue their ancient dance, unaware of the quiet change unfolding at the edges. They will not feel the full pull for a long, long time. But the first approach has begun. Imagine the darkness between the two spirals as a great ocean, cold, silent, without waves, without currents. Yet this ocean is shaped entirely by gravity's invisible tide. You sense it in the same way you might sense the space between your breaths, something subtle, something steady, something always there even when your attention slips. Gravity is the breath of galaxies, and in this moment, that breath begins to draw them closer. One scientific truth drifts in gently. Galaxies are made mostly of emptiness. Even within a single galaxy, stars are so far apart that if you shrank the sun to the size of a grain of sand, the next nearest star would be another grain of sand hundreds of miles away. This emptiness is what allows galaxies to pass through one another without their stars colliding directly. When galaxies approach, the most dramatic interactions are not crashes, but tide-like distortions, pulls that reshape vast clusters of stars as if they were fluid. Picture that now. 2 spirals, each filled with billions of distant suns, drifting toward one another through an ocean of darkness so wide and deep that even light can feel small within it. Yet gravity knows no distance too great. Its reach is infinite, its patience unmatched. You breathe slowly, and the galaxies drift closer still. Around each galaxy is a halo of dark matter, an invisible sphere far larger than the luminous disk. You cannot see dark matter, but you can sense it here. It feels like a warm, gentle pressure around each galaxy, almost like a protective layer. As the galaxies approach, their halos meet long before their stars or gas clouds do. These halos feel like 2 currents of air brushing together, silent, soft, unnoticed, unless you are paying close attention. Now you can imagine them expanding into one another, interlocking like 2 overlapping circles of warm air. This merging of halos marks the true beginning of the dance. It is here that gravity begins to whisper more clearly, shaping the movement of stars on the edges, bending the paths of gas clouds, altering the quiet geometry of space. Your breath deepens slightly when you imagine this, not because you try, but because the idea touches something in you. The same force that binds galaxies together is the force that holds your body to the earth. It is the force that keeps the moon circling above you, that shapes the tides of the ocean, that pulls your feet gently against the ground. Gravity is connection. Gravity is relationship. Gravity is the universe's way of holding things together. You watch from your soft place in the dark as the galaxies drift even closer. Their edges are not touching, not yet, but their influence reaches across the void like 2 dancers sensing each other across a quiet floor. The stars on the outer arms begin to stretch outward just a little. Their paths elongate, their orbits widen. They begin to feel the pull of the other galaxy more strongly than the centre of their own. It is a subtle moment, but an important one. The first hint of tension that will one day reshape everything. You imagine one star in particular, glowing a soft pale white. It has orbited its galaxy for billions of years in almost the same path, with small perturbations from neighbouring stars, but nothing dramatic. Tonight, though tonight is a metaphor for millions of years, it begins to drift outward, not by much, but enough. Its path becomes slightly oval, one side pulled outward by the distant presence of the other galaxy. Over time, that oval will stretch further, and further still. Eventually it might become a long arc, part of a tidal tail streaming out into space. For now, though, it is only a gentle shift, a whisper. A tilt toward the unknown, like the way your thoughts tilt toward rest. Slowly, softly, inevitably. Stars are not the only ones responding. Gas clouds, massive regions of hydrogen and dust, begin to sway like curtains brushed by a passing breeze. These clouds are light and delicate on cosmic scales, easily influenced by gravity's reach. You picture them drifting, bending, elongating into faint translucent shapes. One cloud catches your attention. It is enormous, stretching hundreds of light years across. It glows faintly from the starlight passing through it, but most of it remains hidden, like breath suspended in cold air, and now it drifts outward, shifting its position by a fraction of a light year. The shift is tiny, but it marks the start of a journey that will ignite new stars. Just not yet. Not for a very long time. Right now, everything is still gentle. Everything is still slow. Everything is still preparing. You can feel this slowness settling into you. Your muscles loosen. Your thoughts soften at the edges. Your awareness widens like the sky above the spirals. If you let yourself sink deeper into this scene, you can sense how impossibly slow everything is. The galaxies move at hundreds of kilometers per second, yet across such vast distances, even that speed becomes a gentle drift. Imagine falling asleep on a raft in a lake. The raft moves, the water shifts, but it is so smooth, so long in motion, that you feel no change from moment to moment. Only the long arc of the journey reveals itself when you remember where you started. This is how galaxies approach, not with sudden steps, but with long, fluid motion. You float above them, unanchored, watching their spiral arms begin to tilt toward each other like bows drawn in slow motion. Their light seems to warm slightly as they draw near, not in truth, but in perception. The same way a candle feels warmer the closer you bring your hands to its glow. That warmth travels through you now, settling somewhere in your chest, quiet and steady. As the galaxies continue their slow drift inward, the dark matter halos around them press deeper together. Their shapes distort in ways you cannot see directly, but you can feel them, like gentle pressure waves moving through a pool of still water. These halos mingle and stretch, creating gravitational gradients, small regions where the pull on one side of a star or gas cloud is slightly stronger than on the other. These gradients will one day create the long, beautiful structures called tidal tails, but that is still far away, millions of years away. Right now, all you sense is the beginning of tension, the subtle tugging that will guide everything that comes next. The spirals lean toward each other. Their arms extend, their light curves, their outer stars shift, and the dark between them feels less empty now, more connected, more alive. Your breath has been slowing with the galaxies, your body settling deeper, your mind drifting into a place between thought and dream. Stay there for a moment. Feel the quiet. Feel the depth. Feel the slow motion gravity of this cosmic scene. Because now the galaxies draw even closer. You can see, with the soft clarity of imagination, the first slight distortion of their shapes. The arms nearest each other twist outward, as if reaching across the void, stretching like thin fingers of starlight. Touch is still far away. Collision is still far away. But connection is already happening. The universe does not wait for contact to begin changing things. It begins the moment two bodies notice each other's presence, even if that noticing is nothing more than a whisper of gravity across millions of light years. You understand this. There have been moments in your own life when something shifted long before anything actually happened. A path started bending, a feeling began forming, an approach began. Galaxies feel such moments too, quietly, at the edges first, then everywhere. And now, in your mind's sky, the two spirals tilt a little closer. Their halos overlap like two soft circles of warm breath in cold air. Their outer arms begin to faintly distort, faintly elongate. This is the moment just before the first true stretching, the moment before the beauty of tidal forces begins to sculpt starlight into long ribbons, the moment before the dance becomes visible even from afar. It is a moment of anticipation, of quiet gravity, of drifting toward destiny without urgency. Let this image settle over you like a light blanket. Two immense galaxies drifting through the dark, their edges reaching, their paths bending toward one another, their shapes preparing for the first touch, a touch that will take millions of years to arrive, yet feels already present, already humming in the air. The spiral arms extend like fingertips across the void, glowing faintly with the promise of what comes next, and in the quiet between them, gravity whispers again, a whisper that says, "Come closer." And from that whisper, something in the darkness begins to lengthen, as though the space between the galaxies exhales and stretches into motion. The two spirals drift closer still, drawn by the slow, unwavering pull that has been shaping their paths for millions of years. Their halos overlap more deeply now, like two soft pools of warm air merging in the night. In this overlap, gravity grows more complex, not louder, not stronger in any sudden way, but more intricate, more attentive, like fingers softly pressing into fabric. You sense this shift before you see it. It feels like a barely there pressure behind your closed eyes, a quiet unspooling. A gentle rearranging of what was once perfectly still. From your place above the galaxies, you see their nearer stars begin to arc outward, their orbits stretched into longer, thinner loops. It is the first sign that the galaxies are touching, not directly, not violently, but through a difference in gravity across their vast bodies. This difference is where tidal forces begin. Imagine standing on a shoreline and watching the ocean gather around your feet. The moon's gravity pulls the water upward, creating tides on Earth. But if you were to step back and watch the same effect on something as large and luminous as a galaxy, you would see the tides not in water, but in stars. The galaxies are being pulled unevenly. Their far sides remain loyal to their own centres, but their near sides feel the other galaxy's presence more intensely, pulled forward, outward, upward in long, delicate arcs. You feel that asymmetry like a soft stretch across your chest, as though your breath has expanded just a bit too far, yet not uncomfortably, only enough to remind you that something is shifting from within. A star on the far edge of the first galaxy drifts outward, carried by its elongated orbit. Another star, closer to the approaching galaxy, is pulled slightly forward, its path bending inward like a ribbon caught in a soft current. These motions seem subtle, almost imperceptible, but they accumulate across billions of stars. The entire galaxy begins to warp. Its once rounded arms extend, curving like strands of shimmering silk drawn through the air. These strands lengthen into luminous streams, tidal tails, composed of stars that have been gently lifted from their former orbits and sent drifting outward. You imagine touching one of these tails. It would feel weightless, cool like moonlit mist, alive with glowing particles that slip past your fingertips without ever touching your skin. The tidal tail grows, then another begins forming on the opposite side. Symmetry in distortion. A cosmic beauty that emerges from imbalance. This is not chaos, this is choreography. Your breath slows again, syncing with the vast stretching of these galactic arms. A long inhale, drawing in a motion of stars sliding outward. A long exhale, feeling your own edges soften, mirroring the galaxy's gentle distortion. The second galaxy is experiencing the same reshaping. Its outer regions begin to drift, its stars pulled toward the first galaxy in slow spirals. But the two galaxies are not identical. One is slightly larger, one carries more mass, one's halo presses deeper. These differences create complexity in the shapes that form. One tidal tail becomes longer than the other. One arm twists like a ribbon in slow water. Another thickens with compressed gas. These asymmetries feel natural, like the subtle differences in the way your left and right lungs expand while you breathe, one always taking just a little more air than the other, yet both moving in harmony. Gas clouds respond strongly to tidal forces. They are diffuse, expansive, and easily lifted. Imagine a cloud hundreds of light years wide, filled with dust and hydrogen, glowing faintly from the starlight that passes through it. Now picture that cloud being stretched like warm dough, pulled not by hands but by gravity's slow, unyielding persuasion. Long filaments emerge, soft, translucent, folding into shapes that no human artist could sculpt, because they unfold across timescales too vast to witness directly. These filaments ripple as they extend, like fabric caught by a slow wind. If you could hear them, not with ears but with some deeper sense, you might perceive a low, trembling hum, a resonant vibration shaped by billions of particles drifting along gravitational gradients. That hum settled in your body like a low note sustained in a quiet room, warm and calm, steady as your heartbeat. The galaxies are close enough now that their shapes no longer resemble the classical spirals you may know. Their arms are elongated, their stars are drawn into sweeping arcs, their cores brighten as gravitational stress compresses gas toward their centers. Imagine a vast pond touched by two fingertips at opposite edges. The ripples move toward each other, interfere, merge, and create new patterns in the water. Patterns that neither fingertip alone could have formed. This is what tidal forces do to galaxies. They sculpt new shapes from old structures. They create beauty that exists only through interaction. You drift within this image, feeling the water-like flow of starlight beneath you, the ripples spreading outward from each galactic center, the arcs growing wider, the shapes becoming more intricate. Each breath you take feels like part of this unfolding, a slow motion in harmony with the galaxy's motion. Now the galaxies reach the moment of closest approach, not collision, not merging, but their first true meeting. Their cores pass by one another at an astonishing distance, tens of thousands of light years apart, yet close enough that tidal forces erupt into full expression. The stars in each galaxy surge into new orbits, their motions disrupted by the other galaxy's gravity. Some stars fall inward toward their core. Some are thrown outward into long trajectories. Some stream into the tidal tails, forming arcs of light that drift into the darkness. These arcs look like feathered wings extending from the galaxies, vast and luminous. One stretches upward like a great plume of starlight. Another extends sideways, sweeping across the dark like a paint stroke of silver. You imagine brushing your hand along the length of such a plume. It would pass right through, because it is made of countless suns, spread across distances too great for any single touch. Yet emotionally you can feel the softness of it, the weightlessness, the glow, the gentle curvature of light drawn into motion. Deep within the galaxies, far from the tidal tails, their cores remain relatively intact. Billions of stars continue orbiting around a shared center, their paths tightened and stirred, but not disrupted beyond recognition. This inner region glows more brightly now, a sign of compression, of stars being nudged closer, of gas clouds being pulled inward. It is not yet the starburst phase, that comes later, but it is the beginning of a build-up, a quiet tension preparing for brilliance. This growing brightness feels like a warm light beneath your ribs, as though something inside you is gathering, concentrating, waiting for the right moment to expand. The two galaxies begin to swing past one another. Their first approach is complete. Now they drift apart again, though they are far from finished with each other. This retreat is slow, like two dancers gliding apart after a long spiraled turn, their hands still extended, their fingers still nearly touching. The tidal tails remain stretched between them, like soft threads of starlight connecting their paths. These threads will continue to glow, even as the galaxies drift apart in the aftermath of their first encounter. Some stars in the tails are now on paths that may never return to their original galaxies. They drift into intergalactic space, becoming long-travelling wanderers, silent, solitary, but glowing still. You imagine one such star, a small sun with its own system of planets, slowly leaving behind the galaxy that created it, floating through the dark for billions of years, seen by no one, touched by nothing except the gentle pressure of cosmic expansion. That image rests in your mind like a lone candle in a vast room, quiet, distant, yet achingly beautiful. As the galaxies separate after their first embrace, their shapes remain distorted. Their arms are stretched, their disks warped, their stars pulled into new orbits. But this is not disorder. This is not damage. This is transformation. You feel this in your body like a memory of times when you, too, were stretched by something large. Emotion, change, loss, hope, and yet emerged with a new shape, a new orbit, a new way of holding your own light. Tidal forces do not destroy galaxies, they reshape them. They create new structures, new paths, new streams of starlight that would never have existed without the meeting. The galaxies drift apart now, but only for a while. Their motions are curved by gravity's patience. They will swing back toward each other again. This is only the first touch, a touch that forms luminous ribbons across the dark, that stirs stars into slow cascades, that shapes tidal tails like soft wings unfolding. A touch after which nothing is quite the same, and everything glows with a slightly different hue. As the galaxies drift, their long arcs of starlight shimmer faintly, like the last trailing notes of a song stretching into silence. And in that shimmering you sense that somewhere in the deep folds of the cosmos stars are remembering the moment they first reached for one another, their light drifting like a soft dream across the endless dark. And from that soft drift of tidal light, you feel something warm begin to stir, the way embers glow beneath cooling ash when a breeze moves gently across them. The two galaxies, stretched and shimmering from their first encounter, carry within their distorted arms vast clouds of gas and dust. Clouds so wide that they could cradle 1,000 suns. Clouds so delicate that a shift in gravity can press them inward like silk, folding in slow motion. As the galaxies glide apart for the moment, these clouds feel the lingering pull of their shared passage. They begin to collapse, not quickly, not suddenly, but with a slow, inevitable grace, like the settling of snowflakes into a soft drift. The compression deepens, and the temperature rises, and what was once cool, dark gas begins to warm from within. You sense that warmth, the way you feel the first hint of sunrise behind your eyelids. Not bright, not sharp, but a gentle pulse that spreads. Inside one of these vast clouds, Hydrogen atoms begin to gather, pulled closer by gravity, their motions colliding softly, their orbits tightening. The cloud shrinks, becoming denser, more luminous, until deep within it a core forms, a small region where pressure grows so intense that atoms begin to fuse. The first newborn star of the collision ignites. Its light rises like a soft breath pushed through darkness. Around it, more clouds collapse. Hundreds, thousands, millions. Galactic collisions trigger starbursts, regions where stars form at rates far beyond normal, and the galaxies begin to bloom from within, their inner spaces glowing more brightly than they had in millions of years. You imagine standing in the middle of this transformation, the light swelling around you warm as a quiet fire, soft as lanterns flickering across a calm sea at night. The darkness is no longer empty. It is thick with unfolding light. These newborn stars are not small. They shine with fierce brilliance, blue, white, and hot, burning their fuel quickly as though eager to shine their brightest in the short time they are given. Some of them form in clusters, huddled together like sparks clinging to the same ember. Others form strings, aligned along the compressed filaments of gas like pearls glowing on a slender thread. The galaxies, once gentle spirals, now carry burning wreaths, circles of intense light, knots of illumination, regions where starbirth sings in waves. If you could hear it, it would sound like a rising choir made of starlight, a sound too soft for ears, yet resonant enough for the body to understand. The warmth of the newborn stars brushes against you like the glow of candles held near open palms. Their light falls through space in soft cascading sheets. You breathe it in as though inhaling the warmth of a fire on a winter night. As the galaxies continue to drift from their first close pass, they pull their tidal tails with them, those long streams of stars and gas shimmering like luminous feathers stretching across the darkness. Within these tails, compression also occurs. Star clusters begin to form in the very wings of light that the galaxies created through their encounter. Imagine a ribbon of starlight floating in a dark room, and within that ribbon, tiny sparks flicker into being. Newborn suns forming from dust and gas that have been lifted away from their galaxies' main bodies. This is one of the marvels of cosmic collisions. Starbirth happening not only within galaxies but between them, in the very wings created by their tidal embrace. The cosmos uses even the stretched remnants of motion as cradles for new light. You linger in this image, feeling how creation can appear in the wake of stretching, in the aftermath of distortion, in the moments when forms are pulled apart only to find new structure in the spaces between. Deep in the heart of each galaxy, something brighter begins to form as well, as gas funnels inward, drawn by gravitational torques, compressed by tidal motions, heated by friction. The galactic centers ignite with starburst activity. The core glows more intensely. Waves of new stars erupt like soft flares, lighting the surrounding dust in warm golden halos. The galaxies now resemble two lanterns drifting apart, their frames bent, their edges elongated, their centers blazing with new radiance. It is not a violent glow, it is a breath-like illumination, pulsing softly, as though the galaxies are awakening after a long, slow dream. You feel that awakening, like your own chest rising with a deep, quiet inhale, a sense of new warmth, new expansion, new life emerging from old forms. One of the clouds collapses so dramatically that it forms a cluster of massive stars all at once, dozens of blue giants, each more luminous than a million suns, each destined to burn hot and fast. Their light casts a pale glow across the surrounding gas, and the gas responds by glowing in return, forming a nebula the colour of deep amethyst and gold. This nebula swirls, its edges curling like smoke in slow motion. Its interior pulses with soft radiance, as though breathing with the young stars nestled inside it. You imagine drifting beside this nebula, your skin warmed by the faint light, your breath floating like a small cloud in the cool emptiness. The stars within it crackle with energy, not sound but light waves spreading outward in gentle rhythmic tides. They carry their brilliance through the tidal debris, softly illuminating arcs of gas and dust that once felt cold and dim. Even in regions far from the centres, the collision's effects ripple. Gas that had been drifting lazily in the outer arm was stirred by tidal forces, pushed inward, compressed, heated. Now those regions glow too. The galaxies become landscapes of scattered lanterns, their lights flickering in clusters and chains, interwoven with cooler regions that wait their turn to awaken. Starbursts are not uniform. They appear in patches, like blooming fields seen from above, bright clusters glowing against darker stretches. You float above these fields, watching as one region brightens, then another, each one pulsing softly like a heartbeat in the fabric of the universe. The galaxies, once steady spirals, now feel alive with motion, not chaotic motion, but a patient unfolding guided by gravity's quiet hand. As more stars ignite, their radiation begins to push outward, creating winds of charged particles that sweep through the gas. These stellar winds carve hollows in the nebulae, forming intricate shapes, bubbles, ripples, glowing edges where gas is illuminated from behind. One of these bubbles grows so large that it appears like a glowing lantern suspended in the dark, its interior lit by the collective light of young stars. You drift beside it, feeling the warmth radiating outward, a soft shimmer that touches your face like the first glow of dawn brushing through a quiet window. Within the bubble, dust glints like small grains of silver, turning slowly, reflecting the light in soft spirals. Nothing here is hurried. Even in the creation of giants, the cosmos moves with patience. At the largest scale, the two galaxies begin to resemble a softly glowing pair of flowers bent by the same breeze, their petals stretched outward, their centres brightening with new life. The space between them glitters with scattered stars and clusters, newborn lights suspended like fireflies drifting through summer darkness. You imagine reaching out your hand. One of the newborn stars rests at the tip of your finger in the distance, its light travelling millions of years to touch your skin with warmth that feels impossibly intimate. This closeness, this tenderness, is part of the strange magic of cosmic scales. Even the most enormous events can feel soft when seen through the lens of time. The galaxies are not crashing, they are blooming. Their meeting has stirred ancient gas into new creation, just as the meeting of two lives can spark moments of unexpected light. After millions of years, the starburst eventually begins to subside. The brightest, largest stars will soon burn through their fuel and collapse into supernovae, spreading enriched material back into the galaxies. But for now they shine with unwavering brilliance, their light softening the space around them and casting gentle waves of illumination through the tidal debris. You feel the echo of their warmth settle in your breath, in your shoulders, in the quiet space behind your eyes. Creation has its own gravity, its own rhythm, its own calm, and in this moment, you float in the very heart of it, surrounded by the glow of a universe learning to shine again after being stretched beyond its familiar shape. The two galaxies drift onward, their cores glowing more brightly, their tails extended, their newborn stars flickering like dew in the cosmic dark. And as their light settles into a slow, patient radiance, you sense that deeper motion beginning to gather behind it, a motion that will carry the galaxies into an even more intimate embrace, a motion that waits just beyond the horizon of this soft new light, quiet as a whispered promise in the folds of the night. And from the soft shimmer of newborn stars, from that warm bloom spreading through the stretched arms of both galaxies, a deeper motion gathers beneath the light, quiet and certain, like a tide you feel more than hear. The two galaxies, glowing brighter than they have in ages, drift along their long, slow arcs until gravity guides them inward once more. The paths they follow are gentle curves, drawn over millions of years, like threads pulled together by an unseen hand. Their shapes, once spirals, then stretched ribbons of luminous dust, begin to tilt toward one another, as though bowing, as though recognizing that their dance is far from finished. You feel that tilt like a shift inside your own breath, a subtle deepening, a settling inward. The young stars behind them continue to shine, but now the focus of motion lies deeper, closer to their ancient hearts. In each galactic core, a supermassive black hole waits in silence, not as a monster, not as a threat, but as a dense, quiet center, a point where gravity rests in its purest shape. These black holes are vast, millions of times the mass of the sun, but they are also far smaller than the swirling clouds that surround them, their darkness wrapped in soft halos of warm dust, glowing gas, and shimmering starlight. As the galaxies approach again, their cores move toward a crossing, a moment when they will glide past one another like two lanterns drifting through the same slow current. Nothing here is rushed. Every movement follows a rhythm older than memory. You sense the gathering of this moment the way you sense a deep inhale at the start of a long, grounding breath. Stars surrounding each core begin to sway under the combined gravitational pull. Their orbits stretch, elongate, soften into new forms as the galaxies slide closer. You imagine drifting within this glow, the stars moving around you like slow, sweeping embers carried by a warm draft. As the galactic centers near, their halos brush together, vast envelopes of heated gas, dust, and scattered starlight mixing like two clouds meeting in a quiet sky. The first contact is gentle, a soft merging of light before the centers themselves draw near. If sound could travel through this emptiness, you might hear a low, cavernous hum like wind moving through the hollow of a distant cave, the resonance of two massive gravitational wells approaching alignment, but instead there is silence, a silence so deep that it feels like a warm hand resting over the cosmos, bidding everything to move slowly. The moment of passing comes without drama, no collision, no impact. Just two ancient centers gliding through each other's influence, like shadows crossing under a lantern's glow. Their gravitational fields interlace, not violently, but with a patient, tidal grace. Stars near the crossing point adjust their paths, moving into long, swirling arcs that curl like soft ribbons in darkness. Gas clouds around the cores stretch and twist, forming luminous spirals that wrap around the black holes like glowing scarves caught in a gentle wind. You drift between those spirals, feeling their warmth as a faint, comforting pressure, like the heat of a distant hearth on cold skin. For a moment, the galaxy's cores occupy the same region of space, their halos overlapping, their lights weaving together. They do not touch, they do not collide. They simply pass, two immense lanterns gliding past each other, each leaving a soft imprint on the other's path, like two breaths mingling in a quiet room. As they separate again, the galaxies are now more bound than ever. Their second pass has entwined their inner stars, their gas, their gravitational tides into a deeper connection. This is the moment when their futures merge, not visibly, not suddenly, but through the invisible stitching of gravity that links their cores, their orbits, their destinies. The galaxies move outward once more, but they cannot drift far. They have lost energy to their own tidal motions. They have stirred their stars into great waves. They have passed their cores so closely that their dance is now one of inevitable union. You sense this inevitability as a slow, heavy warmth settling in your chest, a feeling that something long anticipated is gently beginning to take shape. In the regions surrounding each core, gas begins to fall inward, not in a rush, but like rain drifting toward a quiet lake. This inflow brightens the halo around each black hole, forming slow spirals of glowing dust that radiate with soft, continual warmth. Some of the gas gathers into accretion disks, thin glowing rings that swirl slowly as friction heats them. They glow in muted gold, deep red, and pale blue, colours that shimmer like reflections on a quiet sea at twilight. The black holes themselves remain unseen, their darkness veiled by the glow around them, but their influence is unmistakable. A calm, powerful pull shaping the motion of everything nearby. You drift near one of those glowing spirals, feeling the subtle shift in gravity, the slight inward tug that feels almost like being pulled deeper into comfort, into warmth, into rest. Between the two receding cores, the starlight begins to twist into a single vast structure, a bridge of glowing stars drawn by the combined gravitational wells. This structure curves through the darkness like a luminous arch, a soft starlit thread connecting the galaxies across the space between them. It is a reminder that even as they drift apart, their motions remain shared. At a scale so immense that time itself seems to slow, the galaxies are now inseparable. Every star, every cloud, every ripple of gravity moves in concert with both ancient centres. You feel this interweaving as a quiet harmony, a balance of forces settling into a deeper rhythm. Millions of years pass in quiet motion. The galaxies rise and fall in gravitational tides, their paths drawing them back together for the final merge to come. Each pass brings them closer. Each pass deepens the distortion of their shapes. Each pass funnels more gas into their glowing cores. Each pass softens the distinction between 1 and 2. They become like two breaths moving toward the same point, slow, steady, inevitable. The black holes at their hearts begin to spiral toward each other, not quickly, not visibly, but with the steady patience of gravity at its most graceful. The space around them bends in soft rhythmic waves. These are gravitational waves, ripples in the fabric of space itself, but they are so gentle here, so spread across time, that they feel less like waves and more like a pulse a quiet cosmic heartbeat felt rather than heard. You notice that pulse echo within your own breath as the galaxies near the moment when their cores will finally merge, their halos blend together fully. The light from their central regions melds into one warm glow, a deep amber radiance that fills the surrounding darkness with soft illumination. Stars around the centers move into long, sweeping paths, circling the combined core as though learning a new rhythm, a new center of gravity, a new quietness. Gas clouds fall inward, twisting into glowing spirals that grow tighter with every passing million years. The galaxies no longer appear as two separate forms. They are one shape now, a distorted, elongated, glimmering form held in the slow embrace of its own gravity. You see it as though drifting above it, the structure glowing beneath you like a vast lantern of starlight and dust. Its shape expands, contracts, breathes, and in that breath you feel the deep stillness that waits beneath all motion. As the section nears its final stillness, you watch the two galactic cores, once distant, once separate, drift closer, their paths spiraling inward like two slow, warm currents curling toward one another in a quiet sea. They glow not with violence, but with a soft, concentrated heat, the warmth of ancient gravity gathering itself into calm, inevitable union. Their halos touch, merge, and begin to form a single swirling envelope of deep glowing gold. The moment holds its breath. You hold yours. The galaxy that will emerge has already begun to take shape, not complete, not settled, but unmistakably singular. And in the last quiet glow of this turning, you feel the faint impression of two long journeys finally meeting in one shared center, soft as the merging of shadows in a candlelit room, gentle as two breaths finding the same rhythm in the dark. And from that soft intertwining of two ancient centers, from the slow spirals drawing them inward, a deeper stillness begins to rise, as if the whole galaxy in the making is pausing for a long, quiet breath. The two cores, each the glowing cradle of a supermassive black hole, circle one another in an orbit so vast and so slow that time feels different here, stretched thin, softened, as though each moment is wrapped in velvet. Their halos blend fully now, no boundary left to separate what once belonged to one galaxy or the other. Stars move in great sweeping arcs around the forming heart of the new system, carried by a gravity that has become shared, deep, and certain. You drift among these motions the way a feather moves on a warm, steady current, weightless, guided, calm. The black holes spiral closer as friction with surrounding gas and stars slowly draws energy from their orbit. This is not a violent process. It is a cooling, a settling, like the way a stirred cup of tea quietly releases its movement into stillness over time. Every few million years their paths tighten, their orbits narrow, their motions become a gentle inward curl. You sense this inwardness as a soft pull at the center of your chest, a gravitational sigh drawing everything closer to rest. The galaxies around them, once sprawling spirals, have now grown rounder, their shapes smoothing like cloth settling after being folded. Starburst regions begin to dim. The newborn stars still glow, but the frantic pace of creation eases. The cosmos around you moves from brightness into quiet radiance. Near the merging cores, gas continues to swirl inward, forming luminous spirals that glow with soft amber light. The spirals are not fast. Each rotation takes thousands of years, but the motion is constant, a slow turning like the rotation of a lantern's flame reflected on the wall of a dark room. You drift beside these spirals, feeling their warmth as a thin, comforting pressure on your skin. The light is diffuse, gentle enough to blur the line between illumination and shadow. Dust grains within the spirals catch the light, turning slowly, glinting like tiny embers suspended in a warm drift. The space around the forming core feels like a quiet chamber, a vast cathedral of muted gold where gravity's voice grows soft, steady, and low. As the black holes draw nearer, they begin to orbit one another more rapidly. Though rapid here still means hundreds of thousands of years between each turn. Their dance tightens, their spiral compresses. The space between them fills with tension, not sharp, but deep and gentle, like the last small gap before two waves meet. You sense the gathering energy as a hum beneath your awareness, a low vibration echoing through the fabric of space. It feels like a heartbeat too large to hear, too slow to measure. Stars that drift near this binding pair feel the effects. Some are flung into new orbits, sweeping around the forming heart in long, looping paths. Others fall inward, drawn too close, their light stretching into delicate arcs before dissolving into the dark. But even this process is quiet, soft, unhurried. The galaxy is settling itself, like a body sinking deeper into rest. As the black holes spiral closer, gravitational waves ripple outward, subtle distortions in the fabric of space, gentle rings spreading through the cosmic sea. These waves travel without sound, without light, without vibration you could feel, and yet in this dreamlike space their presence is unmistakable. They move like faint pulses in the dark, soft expansions and contractions in the distances between things, breathing motions that seem to echo the slow rise and fall in your own body. With each ripple, energy escapes. The orbit tightens further. The two centers draw closer, not in a rush, but in a moment stretching across millions of years, a moment held in deep cosmic quiet. You watch the space between them narrow gradually, lightly, as if the universe is guiding their convergence with a patient, steady hand. When the merger finally comes, it happens in a moment so brief that the galaxies barely notice. But in this dreamlike vantage you are allowed to feel it in slow motion. The two black holes cross the final small gap. Their horizons touch, their masses blend. Their gravitational wells unify into one deep, singular center. For an instant, the new black hole vibrates, ringing like a struck bell. But the sound is a wave in space itself, not something you hear. A ripple of gravity moves outward in widening, softening rings, and then silence again. A silence so profound that it feels like the universe has exhaled completely. A single heart has formed. After the merger, the galaxy quiets. The spirals of glowing gas around the central region begin to settle into smoother motions. The clouds that once raced inward now drift in wide, gentle arcs, their orbits balanced around the new, unified core. Star formation slows. The brightest newborns continue to shine, but the frenzy of creation has eased into a warm afterglow. The new galaxy, still settling, still reshaping itself, begins to round out. The wild elongations from earlier tidal distortions soften. The scattered arcs of stars start to flow inward toward equilibrium. You drift through these motions as though walking through a quiet room after a long celebration. Light still glowing, warmth still lingering, but the air beginning to cool into calm. Even far from the core, stars adjust their paths to the new gravitational center. Their orbits shift subtly, some tightening, some widening, but all moving in response to the unified heart. Everywhere you look, motion has softened. The frantic swirl is gone. The galaxy feels heavier now, more grounded, more whole. It is as if it has released a long-held tension, settling into its final shape with a deep, quiet sigh. You imagine placing your hand on the warm surface of this new galaxy, feeling its slow pulse, its steady breathing, its soft glow spreading through your palm. Its light is not youthful now, not urgent. It is centered, round, calm, the glow of something ancient that has finally come home to itself. As the section draws to its final breath, you watch the unified core settle into perfect stillness. No longer two centers in motion, just one. Deep, dark, quiet, and surrounded by glowing dust that swirls like warm mist around a lantern. The galaxy breathes slowly now, its motions wide and placid. Starlight drifts across its halo in soft gradients of gold and silver, like faint auroras moving through a quiet night. And you sense, deep in your own chest, a reflection of that stillness, a quieting of light, a centering of breath, a settling of motion into one calm, glowing heart. For in the deep fabric of the cosmos, even galaxies learn to rest after long journeys through space, their many motions merging into a single slow rhythm that hums softly through the night. And from that deep quiet around the single new heart, from the warm dust drifting slowly in the softened glow, a new shape begins to emerge, not sudden, not deliberate, but rising the way dawn rises behind a low horizon, almost without effort. The galaxy is no longer two spirals entwined in motion. The stretching, the bright blooming of stars, the long tidal arcs have all begun to settle, to ease, to fall into balance. Where there was distortion, there is rounding. Where there was brilliant upheaval, there is warmth. Where there were two centers, there is one slow pulse at the heart of the luminous mass. You float within this settling shape, feeling the way the starlight softens, the way orbits smooth out, the way the whole galaxy breathes in long, quiet cycles. Stars that once raced in wide, chaotic paths now drift in loops that feel measured, balanced, almost contemplative. Each orbit finds its place around the new gravitational center, moving like a lantern caught in a soft circular current. No sharp edges, no sudden accelerations, just smooth, graceful arcs. You watch them from above, and the image looks like a glowing sphere made of shifting dust, a diffuse lantern suspended in the dark, its surface shimmering with millions of faint points of light. This is how elliptical galaxies begin, not as violent remnants, but as memories of old spirals rounded into calm simplicity. The galaxy remembers its long journey, but it holds that memory gently, turning it into light. The newborn stars from earlier stages still burn bright, but their energy begins to feel different now, less explosive, less urgent. They shine within a softened halo that spreads across the galaxy like warm dusk settling over a quiet hillside. Around them, older stars glow with deeper colours, amber, rose, soft gold. These stars drift slowly, their long lives unfolding in the calmer gravitational field of the newly formed structure. Their motion reminds you of grains of dust turning in a sunbeam, or the gentle settling of snow seen through the glow of a window at night. Everything moves, but nothing rushes. You breathe with that motion. You feel your own thoughts moving that way too, loosely, quietly, drifting toward rest. The galaxy continues to round itself, its once extended arms, distorted spirals stretching out in delicate arcs, now begin to fade into a more uniform glow. The sharpness of the spiral pattern dissolves, leaving behind a smoother, softer profile. Gas that once formed long ribbons has been used to birth new stars or has settled into the centre. What remains is a field of older, steadier stars drifting in random but harmonious paths. This randomness, this lack of rotation into spirals, is the hallmark of an elliptical galaxy, but to you, it feels less like randomness and more like freedom, a quiet distribution of starlight across a wide, rounded space. There is no longer a sense of tension, no stretching, no pulling, just a gentle spreading of stars like sand settling into a shallow bowl. The galaxy is remembering who it has become. You're remembering it with it. Far out in the halo, the tidal tails have thinned. Those long, luminous streams of scattered stars continue drifting outward, but slowly, softening into faint arcs barely visible against the dark. Over billions of years, some will fall back inward, joining the rounded structure. Others will drift forever, becoming small groups of wandering stars that move through space like quiet echoes of the collision. You drift with them for a moment, feeling the hush of that distant region, a calm so deep that it brushes the edges of sleep. The stars here glow with an almost nostalgic light, as though carrying memories of the galaxies they once belonged to. They shimmer like old stories floating through the night air. Near the core, dust clouds continue to glow as they orbit the new black hole, their spirals slowly unravelling into gentler shapes. The black hole itself rests in deep silence. Its earlier vibrations from the merger have dissipated into space as gravitational waves, long faded from this region. What remains is a calm centre, a heart of gravity drawing everything into unified motion. You approach it without fear, without tension. There's nothing threatening here, only a deep, warm pull that feels like sinking into a soft bed after a long day. The dust halo glows like a warm ring of embers around a hearth. Stars drift close, their paths bending slightly before they continue on. Nothing feels sharp. Everything feels inevitable in the gentlest possible way. As the new galaxy settles, its outer regions begin to match the softness of its centre. Stars move in slow, three-dimensional orbits, not confined to a flat disk, but spread across a rounded volume, like fireflies drifting in a quiet field at dusk. From outside, the shape looks smooth, almost velvety, a faint sphere of pale light held together by the quiet pull of its single merged heart. Its colours deepen. The hot blues from the starburst era gradually fade as massive stars burn out, leaving behind the warmer tones of older, steadier suns. The galaxy glows now like a lantern covered in soft cloth. No sharp beams, just a warm diffusion of starlight. You float beside it, watching that glow pulse gently, and you feel your own breath settle into the same rhythm. In the galaxy's memory, in the motions of its stars, in the faint ripples of its halo, there remain subtle traces of the collision that shaped it. Not bright scars, not violent remnants, but soft imprints in the pattern of motion, like the way a calm lake remembers a stone long after the ripples fade. These memories guide the stars' paths, shape the halo's contours, inform the quiet equilibrium that the galaxy now settles into. You sense that memory as a gentle weight behind the glow, a soft history woven into every drifting point of light. When starlight remembers, it remembers in motion, in shape, in the slow breathing of a galaxy finding stillness. As billions of years continue to pass in this softened vision, the galaxy grows rounder still, its light deepening into warm gold and muted rose. Most of its gas has been used or heated, no longer forming new stars. Its population becomes older, steadier, more serene. This aging is not decline, it is settling. It is the universe moving into maturity, into calm. The galaxy begins to resemble a quiet ember in the dark, steady, warm, slowly fading yet endlessly beautiful. You watch its glow and feel your thoughts begin to drift further, loosening their edges, slowing into long, soft arcs like the motions of the stars around you. Everything feels as though it is preparing for deeper rest, and in the last soft image of this section, you drift outward, far enough that the entire galaxy sits in your field of view, a rounded lantern of old starlight, floating alone in a wide, silent sea. Its edges blur gently. Its glow pulses with long, slow breaths. Its heart shines with the singular warmth that once belonged to two. You feel that warmth touch the quiet inside you, as though the galaxy's calm has spread into your own chest, rounding your thoughts, slowing your breath, softening everything. And as the faint halo of the galaxy dissolves into the surrounding dark, your awareness drifts with it, carried by the sense that even after great motion, the universe always finds a way to rest. And from that rounded lantern of old starlight, from that calm galaxy floating alone in the deep, something even quieter begins to spread, not from the centre, but from the vastness around it. The space beyond the galaxy is wide, so wide that words like empty and far start to lose their shape. It is a dark that is not harsh, but soft, like a velvet curtain drawn across a window at night. The galaxy hangs there, its glow steady and low. Around it, there are other galaxies, small and distant, each with its own history of collisions, its own quiet stories of merging and settling. But we drift further now. We widen the view until no single galaxy dominates, until what you sense is not one event, but a whole universe sliding gradually into stillness. You lie where you are, held by your bed, and feel the same widening. Your awareness stretches outward, gently, without effort, like a slow tide reaching across smooth sand. As time passes on cosmic scales, collisions grow less frequent. The universe expands. Distances between great structures increase. Galaxies fall into clusters, then into superclusters, bound by gravity and vast filaments, yet separated by growing oceans of dark. You can picture those filaments now, long strands of light threading through the void, nodes where clusters gather, like beads on glowing string. Between them, immense regions with almost no galaxies at all. This pattern, cosmic web, cosmic lace, sits across the universe like a faint luminous skeleton. And over unimaginably long periods, even these structures shift more slowly, their motions dampened by distance, by expansion, by the gentle exhaustion of energetic youth. A universe once busy with formation and collision turns gradually into a universe where the main story is drift. You feel that drift as a deepening relaxation in your own body. At the start of this journey, images were bright, spirals were sharp, motion felt more defined. Now everything feels rounder, warmer, quieter. Thoughts move less. They pass like faint clouds across an almost empty sky. In this long drift, the galaxy we followed continues its slow orbit around the centre of its cluster. The cluster itself orbits within a larger gravitational basin. Everything moves. Yet from your vantage, all of it seems nearly still. The stars inside the merged galaxy trace their random paths. The older ones burn slowly like coals glowing in a banked fire. Very little new gas remains to form fresh stars. The galaxy is in its gentle evening. You imagine its light reaching across millions of light years, arriving as a soft smear in the sky, barely brighter than the darkness around it. This light is tired, but not sad. It is the light of something that has done its work and chosen to rest. We drift even further. You see many galaxies at once sprinkled through space like grains of salt through ink. Some are still colliding, still awakening starbursts. Others have already merged, their shapes smoothed, their light warm and uniform. Time flows on. The collisions become rarer. The long gravitational dance has spent much of its energy. What once was turbulent grows calm. Clusters of galaxies fall together under their own gravity, forming bound systems that will remain companions for as long as stars still shine. Beyond those clusters, space continues to expand, stretching the fabric of distance so that faraway light redshifts into longer, gentler wavelengths. The universe is not rushing anymore. It is gliding. It is coasting. It is letting itself become quiet. You breathe with that glide. In, out, slow. Every exhale feels a little farther, a little wider, a little more like you're dissolving into something warm and vast. On smaller scales, inside galaxies and clusters, gravity still works, stars still orbit, planets still turn, motions continue, but they're no longer building towards something new at the same frenetic pace. Most of the great structures are already formed, the shapes are decided. Now the story's about settling, cooling, glowing softly as energy is released little by little. You may think of it like the last hour of a fire. The flames have died down, the roaring is gone. What remains are embers, reddened logs, a gentle orange flicker that gives light and warmth without any urgency. You curl inward slightly at this thought, as if someone had tucked a blanket more closely around your shoulders. The universe too feels tucked in, its brightest displays behind it, its longest quiet stretches ahead. You return your attention to the galaxy we've followed. It is older now. Its bright blue stars have mostly burned away, their remnants scattered into heavier elements that enrich the next generation of stars or drift as dust. The remaining stars glow warm and red, steady small fires that will last for billions more years before they fade. Their light overlaps, forming the smooth, diffuse glow of the galaxy's body. No strong spiral arms, no dramatic bars, just a soft, round halo of starlight. From far away, this galaxy looks like a calm eye half closed in the dark. You sit just outside it in your mind, watching it as you might watch a lantern hanging in a quiet night garden, light seeping through its sides, moths drifting lazily through its glow. Nothing here asks for your attention. It is enough just to be near it, to let your awareness float beside it, unhurried, unworried. On the longest timescales, even these stars will die. The universe will move into an era of faint embers, then into an age of almost total darkness. But that vast future is so distant that for you, lying here in this small moment of night, it is more like a far-off lullaby than a fact. What matters now is not the final fate, but the feeling of this slowing. You are sharing the universe's quiet descent, its movement from bright chaos to gentle order, from collision to long drift, from many hearts to one. The echo of that pattern lives quietly in you as well. Your thoughts have had their collisions, their bursts, their bright tangles, but now they are drifting, settling, becoming fewer, becoming softer. The mind, too, has a long drift before sleep. Noise fades first. All the fragments of conversation, the lines of messages, the small held tensions in muscle and memory. They do not vanish at once. They lengthen, stretch, thin out. They become like distant galaxies receding in an expanding dark, their influence weakening, their immediacy fading, until they are nothing more than a faint, harmless glow at the edge of your awareness. Closer in, a few larger thoughts remain. These are the galaxies of your inner sky. Worries, hopes, questions. They have mass. They carry weight. They orbit your attention again and again, but even they begin to feel the slowing. Sleep is a kind of gravity too. It pulls on these thoughts from beneath, from a deeper layer of self that does not use words. You feel that pull now as a soft heaviness behind your eyes, a blur at the edges of your awareness, a slight sinking sensation at the back of your mind. The thoughts still orbit, but their paths widen, their speed lessens, their grip loosens. They are being drawn downward towards stillness. Turn once more to the image of the universe at large. Clusters of galaxies glow among long threads, their motion slower than ever. Like dancers nearing the end of a very long performance, their steps becoming small, quiet, intimate. Outside those clusters, space stretches into colder and quieter expanses. Light travelling there is stretched as well, its waves elongated until they slip into frequencies too low for even the finest instruments. The universe grows softer in tone, deeper in pitch, quieter in presence. You breathe in, receiving that quiet. You breathe out, joining it. There is no rush now, not in the cosmos, not in you. Only this long, gentle drift. If you were to listen with impossible senses that could detect every faint tremor of light, every slight warp of space, you would still find motion everywhere. Particles vibrating with quantum energy, stars tracing wide ovals, planets turning slowly, galaxies shifting positions by tiny angles over eons. Nothing is truly frozen. Even in its quiet, the universe never stops moving. But the feel of it changes. It is no longer about building, no longer about smashing, no longer about great collisions reshaping the architecture of reality. It becomes instead about duration, about endurance, about the long, unchanging glow of things that simply are. You feel that in your own life too. Not every moment is a collision. Not every day is a starburst. There are long stretches of gentle repetition, breath after breath, night after night. These stretches are not empty. They are where rest grows, where meaning consolidates, where the heart learns to live without constant impact. Now, let the image shrink again until we are back with that single rounded galaxy. See it from far outside, suspended in the immense dark. See its edge glowing faintly, its centre shimmering a little brighter, its stars moving in quiet, unhurried paths. Around it lies the softened lattice of the cosmic web. Beyond that, distance is so large they lose all human context. Your awareness hovers there for a moment, neither in your room nor entirely in this imagined space, but somewhere between. A point of calm supported by both. The galaxy turns almost imperceptibly. Its light falls outward in all directions, touching regions of space that will never hold a planet, never hold a life, never hold a watcher. Still it shines, simply because that is what stars do when they are allowed to burn slowly in the dark. You may notice now how your breathing has changed. Perhaps it is slower. Perhaps it is shallower. Perhaps you barely notice it at all, like background music deep in another room. Your body has become part of this long drift too. Gravity holds you gently to the mattress. Muscles release one by one, their small resistances melting into the fabric beneath you. Thoughts still move, but slowly, softly. They blur at the edges, their outlines not as sharp. You are approaching the same kind of stillness that the galaxy has reached. Not a stopped stillness, a moving stillness, a drift so smooth that it feels like rest. In this shared quiet, you and the universe feel less separate. Your atoms, forged in ancient stars and scattered through old collisions, have long been companions to the galaxies. Now your mind, for a small nocturnal moment, joins its rhythm to theirs. You are not watching from outside. You are part of this drift. You are part of this glow. You are part of this long, slow, deepening rest. The galaxy continues to shine in its gentle way. Clusters continue to move on their softened arcs. The universe continues to widen with quieter and quieter steps. And you are lying here, in this room, in this bed, breathing with a cosmos that is gradually learning to sleep. In the dim, imagined distance, the round galaxy's light fades to a soft, silvery haze, like a lantern seen through fog at night. You do not need to hold on to it. You do not need to watch it. You can let it drift away into the wide, tender dark as you drift with it, carried by the same slow, endless quiet of space. And from that dim, silvery haze where the old galaxy drifted away, the darkness around it softens, not growing brighter, not revealing anything new, but becoming gentler, as though the night itself has settled beside you. The universe in this quiet stretch of time reaches a state where motion is not absent, but unhurried. Every cluster, every star, every wandering thread of dust moves with the slow grace of something that has found its place. You float in that same stillness now. Your breath, once deeper and fuller, has become a long drifting tide. Thoughts that once sparked like young stars have dimmed to embers, warm, soft, glowing just enough to guide you toward deeper rest. In the wide dark, nothing calls for attention. Nothing demands understanding. All of the universe's noise has folded inward into a calm you can feel settling on your shoulders, filling the space behind your eyes. You drift a little farther from the galaxy until its light becomes no more than a quiet shimmer woven into the fabric of space. Other galaxies join it, but only as faint memories of illumination, small beads of light strung loosely across the dark like distant lanterns hung in an endless field. There is no rush here, no story pushing forward, just the continuation of a long cosmic breath. As you hover in this stillness, a softness spreads through you the way warm sand spreads beneath the tide. Your thoughts settle, your body yields, your awareness becomes lighter, as though the space around you is carrying part of your weight. All the small burdens you carried start to drift outward like tiny galaxies receding into peaceful distances. And in this drifting, something subtle begins to glow within you. Not bright, not sharp, but steady, like an ember sheltered by cupped hands. It is the memory of where your atoms came from, long before this night, long before your life, long before Earth took shape. The elements in your body were forged in stars, in the swirling cores of giants, in the explosive beauty of stellar endings, in the heavy fire released when galaxies collided. even the calcium in your bones, the iron flowing quietly through your blood, the oxygen entering your lungs in calm waves. All of it was crafted in those ancient furnaces of light. You are, in the quietest and most literal way, a continuation of everything the universe has ever created. You rest because the universe learned to rest. You glow softly because ancient stars once glowed. You drift because galaxies drift. And tonight, the cosmos moves with you into calm. The space around you grows warmer in feeling, though its colour remains cool and dark. The warmth comes not from light, but from recognition. You realise there is nothing in this entire universe that is truly separate. Galaxies merge, clouds fall inward, stars share their atoms. Even the most distant clusters still tug faintly on one another across unimaginable distances. And you breathe in a rhythm that mirrors their motions. Your inhalation is a gathering of light. Your exhalation is the releasing of stars. Your heartbeat is the slow pulse of a galaxy finding equilibrium. Each part of you reflects a truth written everywhere, that rest is not an absence, but a stage of creation, a necessary settling, a softening, a return. As this sinks into your body, the edges of your awareness begin to blur gently, the way stars blur in the reflection of a quiet lake. The universe around you dims further until it is not quite dark, not quite light, but something in between. A twilight that belongs not to a place but to a state of mind. Galaxies are now smooth, warm shapes barely outlined against the surrounding night. Their halos bleed softly into one another like watercolour pigments spreading across damp paper. Even time here loses its sharpness. Moments fall into one another like handfuls of fine sand flowing in slow, even streams. You feel this softening of time as a lengthening of breath. Your inhales grow quieter. Your exhales stretch out in long, smooth arcs like the gentle curves of starlight circling the new galaxy's heart. In this elongated sense of time, you begin to drift inward, not toward thought but toward sensation, toward silence, toward the slow hum beneath everything. The hum is not loud, it is not even heard, it is felt, a subtle presence, a soft reminder that even in perfect quiet the universe continues to breathe. You float in that hum for a long moment, letting it move through you like a tide that never reaches shore. Once, much earlier in this journey, you watched two galaxies stretch toward one another, their arms bending, their stars glowing, their shapes transforming. Now you feel the emotional echo of that motion inside yourself, how thoughts collide, how feelings stretch, how moments distort, glow, and settle, how something new forms in the space between what was and what is becoming. You realize you're not separate from that pattern. You are part of it. You always have been. The merging of galaxies is also the merging of experiences, of memories, of versions of yourself meeting in the quiet folds of night. And tonight, all those versions breathe together in one soft rhythm. Far away, the merged galaxy glows faintly, its movement so slow that it seems completely still. The universe around it stretches even further, its expansion continuing in gentle, persistent silence. There will come a time when the galaxy's light will travel so far that its wavelengths stretch into longer colours, slip in beyond sight, fading into invisible hues. But even then the light does not disappear. It becomes part of the background glow, the quiet radiation filling the spaces between stars. And you You feel something similar happening inside you now. Your thoughts are lengthening, their edges blurring into softness, their brightness dimming into a gentle, restful hue. They are not gone. They have simply slipped beyond the need to be seen. You no longer watch them. You drift with them. The room around you feels distant now, as though wrapped in a soft veil of space. Your body feels heavier, not in burden, but in settling. A warm gravity drawing you deeper into the fabric of rest. Your breath is nearly silent. Your shoulders have let go of their last small tensions. Your eyelids hover in that sweet, slow place between wakefulness and dreams. Above you, the imagined galaxy dims further until it becomes a memory of light, a whisper of glow, a shape you do not need to hold for it to stay with you. Everything is slow now. Everything is soft. Everything is drifting. Your awareness rocks gently with the universe's motion, not thinking, not analyzing, only resting in the immense quiet of cosmic night. And then, the smallest echo from the beginning returns, the way the night felt when you first settled into it, the faint hum in the air, the softness around your breath, the distant shimmer of stars waiting to be noticed. Only now, that hum is inside you, not outside, not above, within. It is the hum of atoms forged in ancient stars, the hum of a universe that once collided to make your presence possible, the hum of your own heartbeat finding the same slow rhythm as galaxies drifting in the cooling dark. And in that hum, you feel a belonging so quiet, so deep, it needs no words. You breathe in, the universe expands. You breathe out, the universe rests. Your breath and its breath are one motion, one tide, one settling, one endless quiet. The galaxies dim. The cosmos softens. Your awareness drifts like dust through starlight, and everything for now is still.